The Grand Assembly Hall stretched 3 kilometers across, its crystalline dome revealing the swirling nebula beyond. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone at the center of the vast chamber, surrounded by 3,000 alien delegates from 47 species. Above her, holographic displays showed her face magnified 100 times, ensuring every being in the hall could see the human expression. "The verdict is final," declared High Chancellor Vorn, his 6 eyes glowing with satisfaction. The Chromath leader's voice echoed through translation devices embedded in the walls. "Humanity is hereby banned from all space travel beyond your solar system. You will surrender all FTL-capable vessels. You will dismantle all weapons platforms. You will remain in quarantine for no less than 500 standard cycles." Sarah's face remained calm, almost serene. This reaction confused many of the observers. They expected anger, protest, perhaps even tears. Instead, the human simply nodded. "On what grounds?" she asked quietly. Vorn's mandibles clicked with amusement. "On the grounds that you are too dangerous. In the mere 70 years since first contact, humans have caused 18 diplomatic incidents, 12 trade disputes, 7 armed confrontations and 3 near wars. Your species is volatile, unpredictable and excessively violent." Ambassador Thex of the Quillari stood, his translucent form shimmering. "We have studied your history, Ambassador Chen. 20,000 years of continuous warfare. You nearly destroyed your own planet 4 times with nuclear weapons. You created diseases as weapons. You built machines designed only to kill. No other species in galactic history has such a horrific record." "We have changed," Sarah said. "Have you?" Vorn leaned forward. 3 months ago, a human trader punched a Krelian merchant over a pricing disagreement. Punched. With physical violence. We have not seen such barbarism in 10,000 years. "The merchant was cheating him," Sarah replied. "So your people solve disputes with their fists?" Vorn's voice dripped with contempt. "This is precisely why you must be contained. You are a species of warriors in an age of peace. You are predators in a civilization of civilized beings. You are chaos in a galaxy of order." Sarah looked around the chamber. She saw the Valorians, tall and graceful, who had not known war for 15,000 years. She saw the Plexians, whose brains were so advanced they could solve mathematical problems humans needed computers for. She saw the Earthians, who could manipulate matter with their minds. Every species here was older, wiser, and more evolved than humanity. "We accept your verdict," Sarah said. The chamber fell silent. This was unexpected. The gathered delegates had prepared for arguments, for threats, for the typical human aggression. Not acceptance. "You accept," Vorn stammered. "Yes. We will return to Earth. We will dismantle our fleet. We will stay in our solar system." Sarah's voice was steady. "We are young, we know this. Perhaps we need more time to grow, to learn, to become worthy of the stars." Vorn recovered his composure. "A wise decision. Your compliance has been noted. The quarantine fleet will escort you home and will monitor your system. Any attempt to leave will be met with immediate destruction." "Understood," Sarah said. "May I ask one question before I leave?" "Proceed." "How long has the galaxy been at peace?" Vorn's chest swelled with pride. 12,417 years. Since the founding of the Galactic Assembly, war has been eliminated. We have achieved what your species can only dream of, true, lasting peace. Sarah smiled slightly. "That's wonderful. Truly. One more question if I may." Vorn waved a dismissive appendage. "What is it? In those 12,000 years of peace, have you ever encountered a species that wasn't peaceful? A species that wanted to conquer, to destroy? Of course not. All species evolve beyond such primitive impulses. It is the natural progression of intelligence. Only humanity has failed to make this leap." Sarah's smile widened just a fraction. "I see. Thank you, High Chancellor. Humanity will go home now." As she turned to leave, she added softly, almost to herself, "I hope your peace lasts forever." But Vorn heard it. Something in her tone made his stomach churn uncomfortably. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't sarcasm. It was something else. Something that would haunt him in the months to come. It was pity. Sarah Chen walked through the massive doors of the assembly hall, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Behind her, 3,000 aliens congratulated themselves on removing the dangerous variable from their perfect equation. None of them noticed the small data packet her neural implant had uploaded to the assembly's public network. A packet containing detailed scans of every military installation, every defense platform, every weapon system in the known galaxy. None of them asked why humanity had agreed so easily. They would learn. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Sarah's ship, the Endeavour, was escorted by 12 galactic assembly cruisers. Their sleek, elegant designs reflected the aesthetic preferences of species who had not built warships in millennia. The vessels were fast, efficient, and completely unprepared for actual combat. Captain Marcus Webb stood beside Sarah on the bridge, watching the blue marble of Earth grow larger in the viewscreen. "They actually let us go," he said, shaking his head. "I thought for sure they'd try to imprison you. Maybe execute you as an example." "They're not cruel," Sarah replied. "Just naive. They've forgotten what the universe really is." "And what's that?" "Dangerous." As the Endeavour entered Earth's orbit, Sarah gazed down at her home world. The lights of megacities sparkled across the night side. Orbital elevators stretched like threads from the surface to massive stations above. The moon glowed with the lights of the colony that housed 3 million people. Mars was now home to 10 million more. The asteroid belt had been thoroughly mined and industrialized. "Send the signal," Sarah said quietly. Webb nodded and pressed a button on his command console. Across Earth, across Luna, across Mars and the belt, across every human habitat in the solar system, the same message appeared simultaneously. "Operation Homestead has been approved. All assets are greenlit. May God have mercy on us all." Within minutes, responses flooded back. Confirmations from 100 different facilities, each one acknowledging receipt of the order. Things that had been prepared for 70 years began to activate. The Assembly's quarantine fleet took up positions around the solar system's heliopause, forming a perfect sphere that nothing could cross without their knowledge. Admiral Krell, a Valorian with 300 years of service, commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dawn. "Monitoring stations are active," his second officer reported. "All sensors are functioning at optimal capacity. The humans cannot leave without our knowledge." "Maintain vigilance," Krell ordered, though his tone suggested boredom. This was a babysitting mission, nothing more. The humans were contained. In a few centuries perhaps they would learn civilization. Until then they were prisoners in their own system. What Krell didn't know was that human sensors were far more advanced than anything the Assembly possessed. Within hours, humanity had mapped every ship, weapon, sensor, and crew member in the quarantine fleet. They knew which vessels had which capabilities. They knew crew rotation schedules. They knew power consumption patterns. They knew everything. Deep beneath the Himalayas, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Fleet Admiral Catherine Park stood before a holographic display of the solar system. 200 of humanity's finest military minds surrounded her. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we've just been handed the greatest gift we could ask for. The Assembly thinks we're primitive, violent, and stupid. They think they've caged us. In reality, they've given us time. Time to prepare. Time to build. Time to become what we need to be." She gestured and the display changed. Images of sleek warships appeared, designs unlike anything the Assembly had ever seen. Ships built not for exploration or peace, but for one purpose only: war. Project Olympus is now active. Every resource we have will be dedicated to this. We have 500 years before they'll consider letting us out. We're going to use every second of that time. A younger officer raised his hand. "Admiral, with respect, why? Why prepare for war when they're offering us peace?" Park's expression hardened. "Because peace only lasts as long as everyone wants it to last. And in a galaxy this big, sooner or later, someone won't want peace anymore. When that day comes, the Assembly won't be ready. But we will be." On the moon, the first of the new shipyards powered up. These weren't the civilian yards that had built humanity's exploratory fleet. These were military-grade facilities, capable of producing vessels of war at an industrial scale. On Mars, massive underground factories began manufacturing advanced weapons systems. Railguns that could punch through a planet. Missiles that could track targets across star systems. Shields that could withstand attacks the Assembly couldn't even imagine. In the asteroid belt, mining operations expanded exponentially. Rare earth metals, radioactive isotopes, exotic particles. Everything needed for the most advanced military technology was being harvested and processed. And on Earth, in 1,000 secret laboratories, scientists worked on the most dangerous project of all: improving human beings themselves. Genetic modifications to enhance strength, speed, and intelligence. Neural implants to increase reaction times. Biological enhancements to survive in any environment. The Assembly had given humanity 500 years. Humanity planned to be ready in 50. High above, unaware and unconcerned, Admiral Krell sipped his morning nutrient solution and congratulated himself on a job well done. The dangerous humans were safely locked away. The galaxy was safe once more. He had no idea that below him, the predator he thought was caged was actually preparing to hunt. 25 years after the ban, the human solar system had transformed into something extraordinary. To the quarantine fleet observers, nothing seemed different. They saw the same planets, the same stations, the same level of activity. Their sensors detected no weapons development, no military buildup, no cause for concern. They were looking at a masterfully crafted illusion. Admiral Krell had retired, replaced by Admiral Thorne, a Chromath officer who took his duty seriously. He ran drills weekly, ensuring his crews stayed sharp despite the monotonous assignment. He reviewed sensor logs personally. He was, by all accounts, the most vigilant commander the quarantine fleet had ever had. He never detected the massive construction happening beneath the surface of every human world. On Luna, beneath the tourist attractions and research facilities, a fleet was being born. The shipyards stretched for hundreds of kilometers underground, carved from the moon's interior by advanced mining drones. Magnetic shielding prevented any electromagnetic signature from escaping. Heat was channeled deep into the lunar mantle. Visual observation showed nothing but the same old colony domes. Captain James Rodriguez walked through the primary construction bay, his boots clicking on the metal floor. Above him, suspended by anti-gravity fields, hung the pride of the human fleet, the Indomitable. She was 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons ports, armored with composite materials that could absorb energy weapons and deflect kinetic strikes. Her engines could push her to speeds that would make assembly ships look stationary. Her AI-assisted targeting systems could track 10,000 objects simultaneously. And she was one of 50 identical vessels. Status report, Rodriguez ordered. His XO, Commander Lisa Park, consulted her data pad. All primary systems online. Weapons at 97% capacity. Crew complement at full strength. We could launch today if ordered. We won't be, Rodriguez said. Not yet. Not until they give us a reason. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. Why are we building all this? The assembly banned us, yes, but they're not our enemies. They're not threatening us. We're spending massive resources preparing for a war that might never come. Rodriguez stopped and turned to face her. Commander, do you know why predators hunt in packs? Strength in numbers, sir? Partially. But mainly because prey can't watch every direction at once. A wolf pack succeeds because while the elk is watching 3 wolves, the 4th attacks from behind. He gestured at the Indomitable. The assembly has been watching us for 25 years. They think they know what we are. They think we're contained. That makes us the 4th wolf. On Mars, Dr. Yuki Tanaka oversaw Project Ascension. The research facility was buried 3 kilometers beneath Olympus Mons, hidden from every sensor the assembly possessed. Subject 47 ready for enhancement, her assistant announced. Yuki watched through reinforced glass as a young volunteer entered the medical chamber. The procedure would take 6 hours and would change him fundamentally. Enhanced muscle density would give him 3 times normal strength. Modified bone structure would make him nearly unbreakable. Neural improvements would reduce reaction time to almost precognitive levels. Begin enhancement, Yuki ordered. Subject 47 was one of 10,000 volunteers. Men and women who would become humanity's elite soldiers. Super soldiers, though Yuki hated the term. Enhanced humans, better suited to survive in a galaxy that had proven itself hostile to their existence. The assembly called humans dangerous. They had no idea how right they were. In Earth orbit, hidden among thousands of commercial satellites, were the Guardian platforms. Each one appeared to be a simple communications relay or weather monitor. Each one was actually a weapons platform powerful enough to destroy a capital ship. There were 5,000 of them. In the asteroid belt, Captain Sarah Okoye commanded Mining Station Theta 7. Or that's what the assembly sensors would show. In reality, Theta 7 was a military command post coordinating the defense grid that now surrounded the entire solar system. Update from command, her communications officer reported. Assembly sensor sweep scheduled for next week. Standard protocol. Acknowledged. Activate masking protocols. Make sure they see exactly what they expect to see. The assembly performed random sensor sweeps of the human system every few months. They were thorough, checking for any signs of military development. They never found anything because humans had become masters of deception. Every weapon was hidden. Every warship was camouflaged. Every military installation appeared civilian. Humanity had learned an important lesson from its own history. The best defense is making your enemy think you have no defense at all. Admiral Thorne reviewed the latest sweep results with satisfaction. The humans remain compliant. No military development detected. No attempts to breach quarantine. Perhaps they truly have learned their place. His second officer nodded. It has been 25 years, sir. Perhaps they've accepted their fate. Perhaps, Thorne agreed. Or perhaps they're planning something. Maintain vigilance. But vigilance against the wrong thing is the same as blindness. Humanity wasn't trying to break the quarantine. They were building something far more ambitious. They were transforming their prison into a fortress. And waiting. The anomaly appeared without warning. It emerged from deep space, far beyond the quarantine fleet's perimeter. At first, the assembly sensors registered it as a gravitational distortion. Then as a massive energy signature. Finally, as something impossible. A vessel larger than any ship ever built, moving at speeds that violated known physics. Admiral Thorne stared at his tactical display in disbelief. What is that? Unknown, sir. It's not matching any signature in our database. It's broadcasting no identification. It's on a direct course toward assembly space. Hail it. Static answered. The vessel continued its approach, ignoring all communications. As it drew closer, more details became visible. The ship was organic, grown rather than built. Its hull pulsed with bioluminescence. Its energy output exceeded that of a small star. Sir, it's charging weapons. Red alert. All ships, combat positions. The quarantine fleet scrambled, moving to intercept. 12 cruisers formed a defensive line. Their shields came online, their weapons primed. For the first time in 12,000 years, assembly vessels prepared for combat. The unknown ship fired. A beam of purple energy lanced across space, striking the lead cruiser. The shield held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The beam continued through the hull, through the crew compartments, through the engine room. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash. Return fire. Thorne ordered. The remaining 11 ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic rounds, all of it struck the unknown vessel. None of it penetrated. The shots simply dissipated against the organic hull as if absorbed. The unknown ship fired again. And again. 2 more cruisers died in flames. On Earth, alarms blared across every military installation. The battle was happening far from their system, but human sensors were tracking everything. Unknown hostile vessel engaging the quarantine fleet, the tactical officer reported. Fleet suffering heavy casualties. 8 ships lost. 4 remaining vessels are retreating. Fleet Admiral Catherine Park, now in her 90s but still sharp as ever, studied the data. Analysis. Vessel technology exceeds anything we've seen. Bioorganic construction. Energy weapons that ignore conventional shielding. Speed capabilities beyond our FTL drives. Admiral, if that thing comes here, we're not ready. Park's jaw tightened. How long until it reaches us? If it maintains current course and speed, approximately 6 hours. Contact Admiral Thorne. Offer assistance. The communications officer looked shocked. Ma'am? We're under quarantine. If we reveal our military capabilities, we won't have capabilities to reveal if we're all dead, Park snapped. Send the message. Aboard the Eternal Dawn, now fleeing at maximum speed, Admiral Thorne received an impossible transmission. Assembly Vessel Eternal Dawn, this is Earth Defense Command. We've been monitoring the engagement. We can help. Thorne's face flushed with anger. You humans dare mock us at a time like this? You have no weapons. You have no fleet. You. Admiral, with respect, we lied about that. We have exactly what you need right now. Weapons, ships, and people who remember how to use them. Your choice. Accept our help or face that thing alone. Thorne looked at his tactical display. His fleet was in ruins. The unknown vessel was following them, moving with terrifying precision. It would reach his position in minutes. Pride battled with survival. Survival won. What do you propose? He asked through gritted teeth. Stand down your remaining vessels. Let us handle this. Impossible. You're light hours away. You can't possibly. Admiral, we've had 50 defense platforms hidden in your formation for the last 10 years. We can activate them now. Thorne felt his blood go cold. You've had weapons in MY fleet? Yes. Tiny ones, perfectly camouflaged as debris. Each one has enough firepower to take down a cruiser. We have them deployed throughout the galaxy, actually. Insurance policy. Now, do you want our help or not? The unknown vessel was closing fast. Thorne had seconds to decide. Do it. Across space, tiny objects that had been floating unnoticed suddenly came alive. 50 platforms, each no larger than a refrigerator, activated simultaneously. They were human ingenuity at its finest. Small enough to hide, powerful enough to matter. They fired as one. 50 concentrated beams of magnetically accelerated plasma struck the unknown vessel from 50 different angles. The organic hull, which had absorbed every assembly weapon, suddenly buckled. One beam penetrated, then another. Internal explosions rippled through the vessel. It began to change course, attempting to retreat. "It's running," Thorn whispered. "Not on our watch," came the human voice. The platforms fired again, maintaining continuous beams. The unknown vessel tried to flee into FTL, but its damaged engines couldn't generate the field. It tumbled in space, venting atmosphere and energy. Then it vanished in a final, catastrophic explosion. Silence filled the comm channel. Finally, Thorn spoke. "How long have you been preparing for this?" "Since the day you locked us in our cage," the human replied. "We told you we'd changed. We lied. We're still the same predators we always were. We just got better at hiding it. The Council will hear about this. We're counting on it." The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly convened 12 hours after the battle. Every delegate demanded answers. Admiral Thorn stood before them, his uniform still torn from the engagement, his expression haunted. "Report," High Chancellor Vorn commanded. His voice lacked its usual confidence. "We were attacked by an unknown vessel of extreme hostile capability. It destroyed 8 cruisers before we could react. Without human intervention, my entire fleet would have been annihilated." Each word seemed to pain Thorn. "The humans saved us." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted over each other. The word humans echoed from every corner with varying degrees of shock, fear, and anger. "Order." Vorn slammed his appendage against his podium. "Admiral, you said human intervention. The humans have no weapons. They have no fleet. They are under strict quarantine." "That's what we believed," Thorn said quietly. "We were wrong." A holographic display activated, showing the battle. The delegates watched in silence as the hidden human platforms emerged and destroyed the unknown vessel. When the footage ended, the silence was deafening. "They've been arming themselves," Ambassador Thek said, his translucent form flickering with what might have been fear. "For 25 years they've been building weapons while we thought them contained. This is a violation of every agreement. This is why they're alive and you're not," a new voice interrupted. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked into the chamber. She was older now, her hair gray, but her eyes were still sharp. She moved with the confidence of someone who had been proven right. "You banned us from space," she continued. "You called us violent and primitive. You locked us away like dangerous animals. But you forgot something important. Dangerous animals are dangerous for a reason. You violated the quarantine terms." Vorn shouted. "You built weapons in secret. We saved your lives," Sarah said coldly. "That ship out there? It wasn't interested in talking. It wasn't interested in diplomacy. It wanted to kill, and it was very good at it. Your 12,000 years of peace left you helpless against it. Our 12,000 years of war made us ready. There hasn't been a hostile species in 12 millennia," Vorn insisted. "This was an anomaly. An exception. It doesn't justify." "It's not an anomaly." Sarah's voice cut through his protests. "That vessel came from the void reaches beyond your explored space. We've been monitoring that region with deep space probes. There are more of them out there. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. They're coming this way." The chamber fell silent. "Impossible," Thex whispered. Sarah activated her own holographic display. Images appeared showing massive vessels moving through deep space. Energy signatures matching the destroyed ship. And worse, trajectories pointing directly toward assembly space. "We've designated them the Devourers," Sarah explained. "Biomechanical constructs with one purpose: consuming resources. They strip planets bare, absorb the materials, and build more ships. They've been moving through the galaxy for millennia, but they traveled around your space. Until now. Why didn't you tell us?" Vorn demanded. "Would you have believed us? Would you have listened to the violent, primitive humans? Or would you have dismissed it as fear-mongering, as us trying to justify our weapons development?" Sarah's tone was bitter. "We tried to warn you during the ban proceedings. Remember my question? I asked if you'd ever encountered a hostile species. You said no. You said all species evolved beyond violence. We believed that to be universal law," Vorn said weakly. "It's not. It's just that every species that didn't evolve beyond violence in your part of the galaxy was destroyed by the ones that did. You created an artificial peace by eliminating everything dangerous. But you didn't eliminate the danger. You just pushed it away. And now it's coming back. Admiral Thorne stepped forward. Madam Ambassador, what do you propose? I propose we work together. You have numbers, resources, and knowledge. We have weapons, tactics, and the will to use them. Separately we'll die. Together we might survive. Why would you help us? Thorne asked. We imprisoned you. We called you monsters. Why would you risk yourselves for us? Sarah smiled sadly. Because that's what humans do. We're violent, yes. We're aggressive, yes. But we're also protective. When we see something that needs defending, we defend it. Even when it hates us for it. She looked around the chamber at thousands of alien faces. You're right that we're different from you. You evolved beyond war because you didn't need it anymore. We evolved beyond war but kept the tools anyway just in case. You created a perfect civilization in a perfect galaxy. We prepared for the imperfect universe we knew was really out there. So what happens now? Thorne asked. Now? Sarah's expression hardened. Now you learn what humans have always known. Peace isn't the absence of violence. It's the presence of strength sufficient to deter violence. You're about to get very strong very fast whether you like it or not. And if we refuse your help? Thex asked. If we maintain the ban? Then the Devourers will destroy you and we'll defend ourselves. But billions will die who didn't have to. 3 months. That's how long the Assembly had to prepare. The human military advisors spread throughout Assembly space, training crews who had never seen combat. Shipyards across 100 worlds retooled to build weapons instead of passenger liners. Peaceful species learned to fight, and they learned from the best teachers available. Humans who had been practicing warfare for 20,000 years. Admiral Thorne now commanded the largest fleet ever assembled, 2,000 ships strong. Only 50 of them were human vessels, finally revealed after decades of secret construction. The rest were hastily retrofitted assembly ships, armed with human weapons and human tactical systems. It's not enough, Thorne said, studying the tactical display. Even with your technology, we're outnumbered 5 to 1. Captain James Rodriguez, now commanding the human detachment, nodded. True. But they're expecting targets, not warriors. That's an advantage. Your optimism is noted but unrealistic. The Devourers have destroyed 7 scout fleets already. They don't communicate, don't negotiate, don't stop. How do we fight that? The same way humans have always fought superior enemies, we cheat. The Devourers emerged from FTL at the edge of the Valorian system, home to 15 billion souls. 63 vessels, each one the size of a city. Their bioorganic hulls pulsed with absorbed energy. They had consumed 14 civilizations already. This would be the 15th. They detected the defending fleet immediately and moved to engage, expecting the same easy victory they always achieved. They got something different. The assembly fleet didn't meet them head-on. Instead, ships scattered in seemingly random patterns, firing as they fled. The Devourers pursued, seeking to corner and destroy the weaker vessels. They were being herded. Now, Rodriguez ordered. Throughout the system, 200 asteroid-sized objects that had been positioned over the previous months suddenly activated. They weren't asteroids. They were mines, each containing enough antimatter to vaporize a moon. They detonated simultaneously. The explosions created a wavefront of energy that caught 30 Devourers in its blast. The bioorganic ships tried to absorb the energy, as they had absorbed all weapons before. But antimatter didn't work that way. The ships simply ceased to exist, converted to pure energy themselves. The remaining 33 Devourers hesitated. This was new. This was dangerous. The assembly fleet regrouped and charged. Human weapons technology married to assembly numbers created devastating results. Railguns that fired at relativistic speeds punched through bioorganic hulls. Plasma beams superheated the Devourers' energy absorption systems until they overloaded. Quantum missiles phased through shields and detonated inside vessels. But the Devourers adapted fast. They learned from each attack, evolving their defenses in real time. Ships that survived one type of weapon became immune to it. They're learning, Thorne reported. Our advantage is diminishing. Then we teach them new lessons, Rodriguez replied. All human vessels execute Protocol Omega. The 50 human warships broke formation and charged directly at the largest Devourers. The aliens watched in confusion as the vessels approached at ramming speed. At the last moment, the human ships didn't ram. They opened airlocks. Thousands of enhanced soldiers launched into space, each wearing powered armor and carrying enough firepower to level a building. They landed on the Devourer hulls and began cutting their way inside. "You're boarding them?" Thorne gasped. "That's insane." "That's human," Rodriguez corrected. Inside the Devourer vessels, the enhanced soldiers faced horrors beyond imagination. The ships weren't just vessels, they were alive. Organic corridors pulsed with veins carrying energy like blood. The walls themselves attacked, growing thorns and tentacles to impale intruders. The humans killed everything that moved. Sergeant Maria Santos led her squad through a pulsing corridor. Her enhanced reflexes let her dodge attacks before they fully formed. Her enhanced strength let her tear through biological matter like paper. Her neural implants coordinated her squad with millisecond precision. "Core chamber ahead," she reported. "Placing charges." The antimatter charges were small, designed for precision demolition. They detonated in sequence, destroying the central nervous system of the Devourer vessel. The ship convulsed, its weapons went offline, its movement ceased. It died. Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated. Human soldiers boarded 20 Devourers. 15 were successfully killed from the inside. 5 managed to expel the boarders but not before suffering massive damage. The remaining 8 Devourers, seeing their advantage evaporate, attempted to retreat. The assembly fleet didn't let them. 2,000 ships focused fire on 8 targets. The Devourers tried to flee into FTL, but human EMP weapons disrupted their jump systems. They tried to fight but they were surrounded and outnumbered. One by one they died. When the battle ended, the Valorian system was saved. 200 assembly ships had been destroyed. 3,000 crew members were dead. 47 human soldiers hadn't made it back. But they had won. Admiral Thorne floated in his command chair, exhausted and amazed. "You really did it? You taught us to fight." Rodriguez looked at the casualty reports, his expression grim. "Yes. And now you know what humans have always known. Victory costs blood. Was it worth it?" Rodriguez gestured at the planet below, still intact, still alive. "Ask those 15 billion people." 6 months after the Battle of Valoria, the Galactic Assembly reconvened. The chamber looked different now. Where delegates once sat in comfortable ignorance, they now bore the weight of knowledge. Knowledge that the universe was dangerous. Knowledge that peace required strength. Knowledge that they had been wrong about humanity. High Chancellor Vorn stood before the assembly, his 6 eyes dimmed with humility. "We are gathered to vote on Resolution 447, the complete lifting of the quarantine on humanity and the formal integration of Earth into the Galactic Assembly with full membership status." Sarah Chin sat in the human delegation section, now expanded to include 50 representatives. Fleet Admiral Park sat beside her, as did Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral. They watched the proceedings quietly. "Before we vote," Vorn continued, "I believe an apology is owed. Ambassador Chin, would you approach?" Sarah walked to the center of the chamber, the same spot where she had stood 25 years earlier. But the eyes watching her now held respect instead of contempt. "Ambassador Chin," Vorn said, his voice carrying through the chamber, "on behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I apologize. We judged your species by our standards and found you wanting. We didn't realize our standards were suited only for a universe that no longer exists. You tried to warn us. We didn't listen. I'm sorry." Sarah nodded. "Apology accepted, High Chancellor. But understand something, we're not sorry we prepared. We're not sorry we armed ourselves. And we're not going to stop." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "We're not seeking conflict," Sarah continued. "But we're not going to pretend the universe is safe when it isn't. The Devourers are still out there. We destroyed one fleet, but our long-range sensors detect dozens more. Some are heading this way. Others are spreading to new regions. This isn't over. Which is why," Vorn said, "we're proposing not just your integration but a new structure for the Assembly. We propose the creation of the Galactic Defense Force, commanded jointly by Assembly strategic leadership and human military expertise. We propose universal military training for all species. We propose the conversion of 10% of industrial capacity to defense production." "You're militarizing the entire galaxy," Ambassador Thex observed. "We're protecting it," Vorn corrected. "As we should have been doing all along." The vote was called. For the first time in 12,000 years, the vote wasn't unanimous. Some species still clung to their pacifist ideals. Some still feared what humanity represented. But the majority understood: adapt or die. The resolution passed with 87% approval. Humanity was free. 3 days later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned GDF Harmony, the first ship built jointly by humans and aliens. She watched as human engineers worked alongside Plexian scientists, Valorian designers and Chromath technicians. Species that had never considered violence were now learning the arts of war. Not because they wanted to, but because the universe demanded it. Admiral Park joined her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Sarah. Never thought I'd see the day. Humans and aliens building warships together. Neither did I, Sarah admitted. For 25 years I wondered if we were wrong. If maybe we were just paranoid warmongers preparing for a threat that didn't exist. But the threat was real. Yes. And that's almost worse. It means the universe really is as dangerous as we feared. It means our violence, our aggression, our constant preparation. It was all necessary. Sarah sipped her coffee. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted them to be right about peace being universal. But you weren't wrong. And now they know it. Below them, a Valorian engineer asked a human weapons specialist about optimal firing solutions. A Quillari tactician studied human battle formations. A Plexian scientist examined human armor composites. The galaxy was changing one lesson at a time. Do you think it will last? Sarah asked. This cooperation? As long as the devourers keep coming, yes. After that? Park shrugged. We'll see. But at least now they understand why we are the way we are. They understand that peace isn't weakness, but neither is strength evil. A communication alert interrupted them. Admiral Thorne's face appeared on the display. Ambassadors were receiving a signal. It's coming from deep space beyond the devourer territories. Another threat? Sarah asked. We don't know. It's not devourer technology. It's something else. Something older. Thorne's expression was troubled. The message is in a language our computers can't translate. But there's one element we recognize. Mathematical sequences. Universal constants. Someone or something wants to talk. Sarah and Park exchanged glances. The galaxy had just become more complicated. Send the coordinates, Sarah said. We'll investigate. With respect, Ambassador, this should be a joint operation. Human and assembly forces together. Sarah smiled. Agreed, Admiral. Assemble a mixed fleet. If this is another threat, we face it together. If it's an opportunity, we explore it together. No more species standing alone. Understood. I'll begin preparations. As the communication ended, Park turned to Sarah. You realize what this means? We've just committed humanity to defending this entire galaxy. Not just our solar system. Not just our allies. Everyone. I know. It's what we've always done, isn't it? Seen something that needed defending and stepped up, regardless of the cost. Sarah looked out at the stars, at the vast expanse of space that humanity had been banned from, then fought to protect, and was now free to explore again. Yes, it's what makes us human. We're not the strongest species. Not the smartest. Not the oldest. But we're the ones who refuse to give up. Who refuse to let the darkness win. The galaxy's going to learn that lesson the hard way. No, Sarah corrected. The galaxy already learned it. At Valoria, when human soldiers boarded those ships knowing they might not come back. When our pilots flew suicide runs to save alien worlds. When we gave everything to protect people who had imprisoned us. She finished her coffee and set the cup down. The devourers are learning it now, every time they encounter our forces. And whoever sent that signal is about to learn it too. Humanity doesn't back down. We don't surrender. We don't quit. That's not violence. That's determination. And it's going to save this galaxy. Or conquer it, Park said quietly. Never. We learned that lesson ourselves centuries ago. Power without restraint leads to tyranny. We're strong enough to defend but wise enough not to dominate. That's what makes us different from the devourers. They consume. We protect. Park smiled. You really believe that? I have to. Because if we become what we fight against, then everything we've sacrificed means nothing. Sarah turned from the window. Come on. We have a mysterious signal to investigate and a galaxy to keep safe. Just another day for humanity. They walked toward the bridge together, 2 humans carrying the weight of their species' reputation and responsibilities. Behind them, through the observation window, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. Their home. Their beginning. The world the galaxy had tried to cage. The cage was broken now. And humanity was free to do what it had always done best. Survive, adapt, and thrive against impossible odds. The Galactic Assembly had banned humans from space because they were dangerous. They learned why humans had agreed. Not because humans were obedient. Not because humans were afraid, but because humans knew something the assembly had forgotten. The greatest predator is the one that chooses not to hunt. The most dangerous warrior is the one who seeks peace. The strongest species is the one that uses its strength to protect the weak. Humanity had spent 25 years in quarantine not as prisoners, but as guardians in waiting, building, preparing, becoming exactly what the galaxy needed but didn't know it wanted. And now, facing threats both known and unknown, the galaxy had its defenders. Not perfect beings of pure peace. Not mindless warmongers seeking conquest. But humans. Flawed, violent, compassionate, brilliant, stubborn humans who would fight to the last breath to defend what they believed in. The assembly had feared humanity's capacity for violence. They learned to be grateful for it instead. Because in a dangerous universe, the most valuable ally is the one who knows how to fight and chooses to fight for you. Humanity had agreed to the ban because they knew the truth. You can't ban human nature. You can only direct it. And when the galaxy needed them most, humans were ready. They had always been ready. They would always be ready. That was the human way. That was humanity, fuck yeah.